All right, and let me see here if this shows. Okay, we're good. Wow. Okay, so this is what happened. While we were talking, our Facebook feed was fine. However, YouTube took down the live stream. Wow. Someone doesn't want us talking about this, huh? That's crazy. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to take you off of your thought. I just wanted to make sure we got that in and make sure we're definitely being seen and heard. Wow, they're flawed for that. Okay. All right, we're back. We're good. We're good. All right. So, I mean, that's kind of that. It is the general prevailing thought. Now, obviously, do you believe that this may be too heavy of a question for you, but you're very smart. You're very intuitive. So I'll ask this question of you. Who do you think, whose responsibility is it for Black women's image globally?
Can you rephrase the question?
Yes, sir. So the way people see you or perceive you, who was responsible for that way that people see you, and who's responsible for changing it?
I would say I would say ourselves, us as Black women, but also what is portrayed on the media because they can show all of the bad stuff but not show the good things.
I see. So the media and ourselves are responsible for our images. So do you think that, well, we know that the TV and media is very powerful. We just went over the understanding of propaganda. So we have an understanding of what's going on there with that. Um, I guess the big question would be, what exactly, what is a form of propaganda that Black women have gone through? You, I mean, do you have an understanding of the propaganda that's been used against you, your image, and women like you?
I'd say yes and no.
Okay. Now, when you say yes and no, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you understand? And I'll kind of fill in the rest of the blanks.
I understand that throughout history and even now that Black women, Black people, white people, basically every race has used or said things to us that kind of downplay our character and our image as Black women.
I see. So I think that's very powerful, and I think that's very true. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to show some examples. I'm going to show you guys how it all started for Black women, for Black people, but specifically Black women. I'm going to show you the 4 stereotypes that were created a long, long time ago that you can see the remnants of them. You can see them still alive today and being perpetuated by the media and, unfortunately, by ourselves. So give me a moment to do that. And we're going to take a look at, let's take a look here. So I pulled up the 4 types. Have you heard of any of these? The Mammy, the Sapphire, the Jezebel, the Matriarch?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen, let's start with number 1, the Mammy, right? So let's go ahead. I'll read this. The archetype of the portly, asexual, and fierce caretaker brought to life and gone by the wind. That movie was one of the first media depictions, on the movies of the Mammy. Reinforced the absurdity that Black women will bear any burden, not because they have to, but because they live to. I'll read that again. The absurdity that Black women will bear any burden, not because they have to, but because they live to. The anti-Blackness intrinsic to the Mammy caricature has defined expectations of how Black women should relate to families, partners, churches, and employers, in giving and never taking. So that's what a Mammy is. Based off that definition, do you know what a do you know of a present example of what a Mammy looks like or what a Mammy is?
No.
No. All right. So this is, I know you've seen this, so I hate to do this, but this is history. All right. So this, I know you've seen, I know you recognize some people here, right? So let's make it big. All right. So who do you recognize on this screen? Call them out.
Medea and the girl below her. I don't know her name, but I've seen her in a lot of movies.
Okay. So yes, these are examples of the Mammy stereotype archetype. What makes Medea? What makes Martin? The one to the left is Martin Lawrence from Big Mama's House. I don't know if that's the Aunt Jemima. Maybe that's the chick from Gone in the Wind, the person that they were talking about. You got Precious here. You got Monique, Precious's mom, and then this lady, right? So these are all, if we look at the definition, these are all women, and these are variations too. So all of these women, for the most part, they're not just mammies. They're not just mammies. They are a mixture of mammies and sapphires. Okay, so Medea, we all know about Medea. What the hell? All that, right? That being portrayed by Tyler Perry. Okay, Medea gets a lot of attitude, gets a lot of sass. Again, she's, for the most part, asexual. She's not really attracted to anyone. I mean, I haven't watched all the movies, but you know the deal. She's asexual, right? She's just a being, a fierce caretaker. That would constitute Medea. That's who Medea is, right? And it's basically a template on how Black women should interact with their families, partners, church, and employers. Giving and never taking. Being somebody that does everything for someone else at the expense of their own self at the expense of their own wealth, their own mental and physical health, their own well-being. That's a mammy. Now, the sapphire is, we'll read here, the real white woman in the antebellum era were thought to be delicate damsels. Black women who worked alongside men were something harder. By the mid 20th century, the hard black woman was angry. Okay, you see that in Medea. And two, and was a fussing, emasculating wife on Amos and Andy. So that was an old show, Amos and Andy. And you have the fussing wife that was, very belittling to the husband and the children, usually just the husband, stuff like that. And that became the template on how Black women should act that was promoted in media. No matter how genial or decorous a Black woman is, she is suspected of being a rampaging harridan. So even if you are a Black woman that is very nice, very even-mannered, not anything like the stereotypes, they still believe that you got that ratchet hood in you and that you're only one blow up away from that. Just ask Michelle Obama or Hollywood hitmaker Shonda Rhimes, who is called an angry Black woman. They always like to put that on you. And we all know that's wrong, right? So Medea, Big Mama's house, Medea, Big Mama's house. Hold on. Where was it? Where's here? Is it over here? Okay. Oh yeah, put it over there. So that's an example. Another big example was Aunt Jemima, who was just taken off of the box. She was a mammy, and this was racist. Black mammy. This stuff has been here since slavery and long after it was promoted. They did this so that you and others like you would act a certain way and not even realize why you act the way. All you know is maybe grandma acted this way, great grandma acted this way, mom, auntie acted this way. They try to create a whole personality for you and tell you that if you don't act like her, if you don't act like her, then there's something wrong with you. You're not Black. You're not a woman. See, it's important because they said it's about how you're perceived. Remember, real white women were perceived as delicate damsels, right? Delicate back in the day. But a Black woman that had to work amongst men, they were considered unfeminine, not delicate, masculine, angry, all these negative things. They pretty much created a personality for you. And unfortunately, it's been reinforced by the media and even some of our lovely family members through generations. So those are two archetypes that you see. You got the Jezebel as well, which, the myth of the sexually exploited, enslaved Black women, and that Black women are more vulnerable to sexual assault, but less likely to be believed when they are violated. The fear of Jezebel also often caused Black women to deny human sexual urges to prove propaganda about them wrong. So basically, they said that the Jezebel was a woman that was essentially a streetwalker, as Tommy Lee said, a streetwalker, someone that loves that type of behavior, and that they can't be violated. That just by their nature of being a sexual being, they can't possibly be victims of rape and things of that nature. And they shouldn't be believed if a white man or anyone else says that they were brutalized by them. And then the last one is the matriarch, right? So this is very important, Symone, and everybody listening. In 1965, the Moynihan Report, this is a very important report because this pretty much bears out everything that is the issue with the Black community. Stuff we know, but as of 1965, that was documented proof that the government knew exactly what was going on and what was needed to be fixed. So it's not like the government's aloof. Oh, this stuff is happening. They've been known since 1965, longer than that. But this is the first time it's been put to pen. There's unquestioning belief that in the assessment means single Black mothers and their children are demonized. Low Black marriage rates can be used as a cudgel against Black women, even though America as a whole is marrying less. So they're always going to use these statistics, these things to demonize Black women. Anywhere from welfare, all these other different things. Let me see here. With Mammy, the matriarch, Sapphire, and Jezebel forever in the shadows, Black women's lives are consistently depicted through an inaccurate and narrow lens. Many will never experience the struggles that are so wedded to them in popular conversation, who do so much more than their weight, singleness, or thin bank account. The current discussion about Black women is also ignores many singular and group triumphs of Black women that erase the facts that other groups wrestle with the same ills. So I say all that to say this. We're breaking down all of that history. All of that history is in this photo, right? She's strong, independent, clearly doesn't have a man, maybe doesn't need a man, asexual, and giving. There's some similarities there, right? There's similarities across the board. Now, this whole love is love thing, that's ridiculous. Love is love. Interesting. See, that's one of those buzzwords. So let's see here. And the strong Black woman stereotype. All of those are things here that we have to look at. Let me see here. Yeah, myth of the welfare queen. That's another one. Remember when we talk about wealth and income and things of that nature, literacy rates, in the circumstances between men. So that's kind of the gist of the image, right? That's kind of the issue. Now, all of these things, for better or for worse, they're in the psyche of people. They're in the psyche of young women, older women, middle-aged women. This image is very telling because there was a lot of women that were single, a lot of sisters that were single on Valentine's Day. And this definitely hit close to home for a lot of sisters. A lot of them. And the question that it sparks for me and a lot of others is, when you have a stereotype of the strong and independent, does that help you or does that hurt you? And I guess it seems that in a situation like this, it's good being able to handle it on your own, but oftentimes you end up being alone. And that's tough. That's really tough. It's unfortunate. Doesn't have to be reality, though. That's the beautiful thing about all this. I think it was good. I know this is going to sound bad. I think it was good that the UN put out this picture, because this brings us into focus on the state of Black men and Black women in their relationships, or the lack thereof, or the quality of them. See, this is the outside looking in. This is the UN, again, propaganda, in my opinion. Not only propaganda, but this is what a lot of us see, a lot of us in the community see. It just hurts more. It's disrespectful because it's someone outside of our group portraying the ills and the issues of our group. Now, why is this even more alarming, or as alarming as seeing a Black man get lynched or brutalized? Because it's Black women. There should be no difference in how we perceive disrespect among either one of us. But Black women are not feeling this. And the question is this going to change? Is this image going to change anything in the community? Is it going to change Black women's perception? Is it going to change how they conduct themselves? Is it going to change anything? And that's why it's so important for us to control our own media, so we can combat images like this. Because this image is this is bad. This is bad. And I want you to look at the spacing here. You got the sister all the way to the left, and in between her and the brother is all this. And this is deep here. This is deep. You've got everything else, all different sexualities and proclivities that keep the Black man and the Black woman from being in the embrace. This is deep. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hold on. No, women want control over males. Our sons must come before women. Our sons are least protected. Now, that's what he says. That's what he says. I don't disagree. I do think that the sons do need to be protected, because we can just think of it logically. The sons and the men are the ones that protect and provide for the community. So they have to be taken care of. They have to be protected. If the men go in any society, in any tribe, in any community, so does the community get taken advantage of, weakened, and, every which way. So, that is something to consider. More than consider, it's something that we need to incorporate within, right? So, that's a fair comment. So what happens when you have a woman that is having trouble relating to her men, and vice versa, men relating to the women? What should happen here? If we don't want this image, if we want this transposed into this, a loving embrace, how do we get here? I'm curious. From the mouths of babes comes the truth. Simone, go ahead, Simone. What? How? I'm curious. How do we get black women and black men to have good relationships? So, how do you? What do you think? This is. I'm curious to know what a young mind would say about this.
I honestly have no idea because this has been something that's been going on for a while. But
Hmm.
I know from some people's point of view that when black men are with white women, it's because white women let black men do whatever they want without having the consequences of what a black woman would give them. But at the same time, that's not everybody and that's not every situation. So I don't really know how that could be solved.
That is that is that is profound and interesting. That's interesting. Listen, I'm not expecting you to have the answers. I was just looking for interesting. I just wanted to hear your point of view because sometimes children have a way of explaining complex issues or solving complex issues with very easy and simple solutions. Um, we'll figure it out. You know, you leave that to the grown-ups. We will figure that out. Next comment here from Mercia Letre. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that. Africans and black males are the only ones who put wife and daughters before sons. No other male on the planet. That's true. That's true. I will. That's true. Our community is a, well, you could say matriarchy, gynocracy. It's been controlled by the women for the most part for at least 60, 70 years. So I could see that. There appears to be a big difference there. One more here. We we means females must take advice from French black women. French blacks are not the anti-male speakers. You know, it's interesting. I don't know much about French black women. I mean, the closest I get is a Haitian woman, but I do see how Haitian women regard their men and the pride that they have in their families. Let me see. We got one more. Black men marry whites at a small 8%. That's documented. 83% of black men married to black women, yet the focus on the 8%, not the 83%. Yo, he's killing it. Statistics, man. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what the statistics bear out. I had this ready to go, blackdemographics.com. I mean, that is true. Let me see here. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, yeah, 83, maybe 85, 83% of black men get married to black women. He's right on the money with that. Right on the money. So that's true. And yeah, they only date out or date white women at 9%. So you're right. 85% of black men, if they get married, they're going to end up finding a black wife. Now that number, is going down, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything, right? But I want to get back to what Symone said. She said black women won't, because white women put up with things that black women won't when it comes to black male and black female relationships. That's very interesting. I'm curious, where did you, is that your opinion or where did you hear that from? Because you're 15, so I'm wondering where that came from.
Well, at first, not really the idea, but my mom had mentioned that to me one time we were watching TV or whatever. And after that, I kind of saw it because on social media, you see like a lot of white girls with black men, and it's very apparent that they can kind of do whatever they want. And you can kind of see that with the married people too, like the men. don't really do much, and the white women do a lot of the stuff. And I feel like if he was married to a black woman, that would not be happening.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was coming from. I hear a lot of mothers, black mothers, say that. So that's definitely like a general understanding in the community. To some, not all black moms think that, but a huge majority of them do. And yeah, I've heard that before. I think we all have. Um, so I guess the big point would be people want to, everybody wants to call. You know, you can't be calling me while I'm live now. Let me do this here. So, in a situation like this, I think we got to look at it a little differently, right? Now, I think there's maybe a small low grade contempt that black men, well, not necessarily black men have, but black women may have for black men. Now, there is a reason for that. There's a reason for everything. Um, Due to what our shared history of slavery and what we've gone through, Jim Crow, separations, sexual abuse, physical abuse, redlining, government intervention, maligning, all these things feed the contempt. They feed the treatment that black women sometimes give to black men and vice versa, right? You know, let me give you a prime example. You've seen movies like, you ever see the movie, not 12 Years a Slave. Maybe it was 12 Years a Slave, or maybe it was The Butler. It was any of those slave movies. They all do the same thing. You have a situation where you have the black women that used to clean. Some of them used to be homemakers, clean houses, be maids for white folks. It happened for hundreds of years. They would go into these nice houses and stuff like that. They would take care of the masters and kids and the white folks' kids and stuff like that. And they would see how life could be. And then they get done with their day. They go home to maybe a home that is just not to the same quality or not as beautiful as where they were for most of their day. And they come home and, you know, they either wait for the man, they get their man, they tend to their kids, they cook, they clean, they do all these things. Their man comes home. They both had to deal with the racism, just in different facets and different situations. But not due to any fault of that black man's, he, for the most part, couldn't provide the same level of living that the white man was giving to his white wife. And we know there's a historical reason for that. But regardless, there was a small part deep down where some contempt was growing little by little. And that manifested itself wholesale within the treatment of the community when it comes to black men and their contributions. Here's an interesting question, Symone. What is what is a family? Name all the members of a family.
A mom, a dad, and a child.
Exactly. That is what a family is: mother, father, and child. In our community and in the world, it's growing. We're seeing a situation where the family has been, or they're trying to redefine it for everyone. For a long time, the family in the black community was just the mother and the children. And the father was taken out of the home. The father left the home. There's reasons for all these different things. But the father was not there. Or if the father wanted to be there, there was something holding them back, whether it was financial to the point that the child would be better taken care of if the mother was on welfare or some sort of assistance, and he stayed away because he wouldn't make enough. A lot of that happened before the 1960s. A lot of that happened when welfare first came out and things of that nature. It used to be just for widows, and then it got expanded. But there was a lot of black men that got out of Reconstruction, after slavery got out of Reconstruction, did their best, worked 2-3 jobs to support their kids, take care of their family. And people kept, trying not to cuss, people kept messing with them, trying to get in their way. It made it nearly impossible for them to take care of a family, and did everything they could to keep that from happening. Yeah, a present example, Ronald Reagan, right? In the 80s was really tough for black folks. He said Ronald Reagan era made it single mom with his 1985 USA law. Jimmy had it 2 parents. Right. Exactly. There's these laws that come into place, and with the advent of other things like feminism, so on and so forth, all of these things are there to put wedges between the black man and the black woman. They don't want us together. There's a reason for all of that. You have to ask yourself, why do they try so hard? Why do they try so hard to break up the mother and the father? Very, very real here. Father, mother, children in that order. Father chooses his helpmate, wife, to bring their legacy through. Facts. Absolute facts. Can't be disputed. Absolutely true. Now, with that being said, if we're trying to keep black men and black women away from each other, what happens? What happens? The black family ceases to exist. If the black family ceases to exist in the strongest form it can be in, then that leaves black men at the mercy of everyone else. It leaves black women at the mercy of everyone else. It leaves black children unprotected against forces that want to do everyone harm. See, we're stronger together, but there's been a lot of sabotage, self-sabotage, brainwashing in the community. Years and years of slave mentality that just has not been broken, to the point that we look at people that look like us as enemies, untrustworthy. We feel like if that person is light or a different nationality, or I don't believe in race, different nationality or ethnicity, that they are going to have our best interest at heart than someone that looks like us. That's insane. That's insane. If you think about it. Now, we're not removed from racism. We are removed from slavery, everyone here. But yet, that slave mentality still pervades to this day. And it's perpetuated by society as well as ourselves. There's no reason we should be killing each other like the way we do. No reason whatsoever. There's no reason that if we're all broke, if we're all scrounging to make ends meet, why are you robbing me? Why are you kicking down my door? Why are you mugging me? If you know, I live right next door, you know I ain't got no money, but you buck up to me. But you won't dare go across the train tracks and really bust a lick, really hit a lick. You scared to mess with anybody over the across the train tracks, anyone that doesn't look like you, but you got the courage to spill a nigga's brains on the ground because you don't value him. So there has to be a self-love. There has to be a value within us. true. I call it flag culture, not insane. Flag comes first to everyone except Africans. The coin comes first. True. Okay. And see that, and that's very true too. The flag. So because African Americans, had their identities wiped from them for the most part. And again, there's the whole idea that maybe African Americans were actually indigenous to North America. There's two schools of thought on that: Africa or North America, mixture of both, right? Doesn't matter. The whole point is culture was wiped. So if the culture is wiped, what did Black folks do? We have our own subculture. We are American culture. Let's be real. We are American culture. Should we rally behind the American flag? Could be. If that's what will get us to working together, yeah. I don't care if you need your own flag, but we have to put us first. I mean, it's as simple as that. Because when we don't put each other first, we got Black women looking crazy out here. But when we don't put ourselves first, we got Black women crapping on Black men for over 60, 70 years, unabated. Ricky Lake. Not Ricky Lake. You got talk show. Well, no, yeah, Ricky Lake. She's not Black, but how many Black women were talking about Black men were no good on Ricky Lake? Oprah, how Black men, brutalizing Black women on Oprah. What's the others? Jerry Springer. All the ratchetness out for everybody to see and consume. We're hurting each other. That should make us embrace the power we have. We may not know we have the power, but you can't stop wondering why the privileged group wants to dismantle our family unit. That is absolute facts. Absolute facts, right? We may not know we have the power, and we definitely have the power, but you can't stop wondering why the privileged groups want to dismantle our family unit. And that's very true. Why does the media structure, why does the American society spend billions and billions of dollars to influence Black men and Black women to stay away from each other? To say that Black men should only deal with Black women when it comes to dating. Not even marriage, just dating. Only deal with Black women then. In any other capacity, why don't you deal with Becky over here? Or Sue Young, you know what I'm saying? Or anyone else. They want to separate us because we're stronger together. But just as strong as we are together, one's got to lead, one's got to follow. And in the Black community, we have a power inverse here, right? We have a leadership inverse. We have the women that seize power. You can argue during the feminist era, 1960s, civil rights, stuff like that. You can argue that, and things haven't been the same. Things have just gone downhill. You could say that. You could say that Black men didn't take the power back, didn't assume the power. You could say, you could argue that, right? Either way, we know how this is supposed to go. The man is supposed to lead. The women are supposed to follow. By the man leading, he's providing a safe area, safe haven for you to raise the kids. But when you think you can do it all by yourself, when you're really not, when little boys hear niggas ain't shit, or you just like your father, disregarding, trying to put that on a child when you chose who the child's father was going to be. That is insane. When you tell a little boy he's the man of the house, he doesn't even know how to be a man. You're not putting him around male role models. Why do Black boys got a horrible literacy rate in the Black community? There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things to unpack, right? It's not all on black women, certainly not all on black men, but we need to come together. Let's look at the comment. Retort to Diana. Hard to get young boys and some femmes to embrace a power mentality. Yeah, I would agree. 1981 Oprah BMW book show. That's an example? Okay. Might have to look that up. Mr. Parker, they have arranged marriages and put land for children over making a current coin. They have arranged marriages and put land for children over making. Now, these are some things that would help. Yeah, our community would be better off if we help prepare for the next generation. And I've often said that for black people, it seems like every generation starts over. I liken it to a video game where you have save points, and each generation is a level, right? Or we're running a level. We're trying to get to the end of the game. And each generation, you go as far as you can. You provide as much, you collect as many lives as you can, collect as many power-ups as you can. And then when it's time for you to relinquish, you save that and you let the second life take over. You let the second generation take over with what you've amassed during your lifetime, so that that person, your offspring, your child, the person you love, the person you brought in this world, has a better chance of doing better than you and providing more, so on and so forth through the generations. It doesn't work like that for a majority of black people. A lot of black people, for one reason or another, whether it's lacking in financial literacy, actual literacy, not knowing, ignorance, both forced and just general, and a mistrust within the community, the inability to delay gratification. All these things go into black folks being broke generation to generation. And it is a rather unfortunate thing. The best thing that a parent can do is provide a springboard. And then it's up to that child to want to do the same. And that's a lot easier when husbands and wives are together. When black men and black women are together, it makes for a more stable environment for children. I know this is elementary. We should already know this. And in truth, we do know this, but we're letting social media, we're letting the government tell us how we should operate our families, how we should aggregate power, that we should be more worried about what type of clothes or materialistic trinkets we have to be able to better relate to your boss than your husband, to be able to better relate to your coworker than your wife, to better be able to take care of someone else's kids than your own. Wait, what was that example? Let me pull that up. What was that example? Reinforce the absurdity that black women will bear any burden, not because they have to, but because they live to. It's sick. And they're trying to do that to us. Let's see, response. My opinion, power can be shared. What difference does it make who makes the most money? Just bring it home and put it together. But women, remember, your husband's the head of your household. Respect. And that's true. That's true. I believe if we created our own benchmarks for what we wanted, created exactly what we need and our own standards, then we wouldn't have issues. You're right. There should be no reason that if my woman makes more money than me, that there should be no difference in the power dynamic. There shouldn't be, since she's supposed to be on my program. But that's not reality. It shouldn't be that way. We should be able to work together. The woman should still be able to defer to the man, defer to the husband. But that's not how it works. We see it time and time again that wives and women, girlfriends, if you're not making more than her, then there is a lack of respect. And that's one thing that Black men can't change. We can't change how our women perceive or respect us when it comes to earning, because we know that a lot of these jobs have, Black women earning more than Black men. Black men and Black women are competing for the same jobs. That's another thing that we don't often talk about. So hold on, let's see here. We got a little back and forth going here. So Mer Si, Letre, he says, if you value a coin or a temp job contract to get a bag, my lady, that Stephen Fetchit can't share power, because Stephen Fetchit types want a current coin, not power legacy. Interesting. And then whoever has the expertise in an area should lead that area with the advice of the other partner. So here, I think this is the issue, right? And I think this is very important. We're going to learn a lot here. The term partner, I guess the question is, yeah, please explain. If you want to explain, I can. I gotta vet you. If you want, I can bring you on the panel. If you want, just let me know if you want to hop on the panel. Either one of you in the chat. I guess the issue is where was I here? I guess the issue is he wants the link. A black seller wants a coin. All right. We'll hit the link. We'll let you on. Anyone else that wants to come on the panel, just let me know. He said, all right, I put the link. It's in the chat. Got you. We're going to bring him on. Let him articulate himself. Oh, here we go. Whoa, okay, hold on. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself. I thought this was Mr. Research. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for letting me explain to Ms. Parker. So I will get to that. Let me go back to what the young lady said. Sometimes our young ladies are repeating things they heard from other women, but cannot define those things for themselves. So when they say things like men doing what they want to, well, what does that really mean? Because is he not a human? Does he have to get permission or obey? So what is this with white women? They get to do what they want to. Hopefully at some point in time, she can articulate that, because the other part of that is so many young girls look at boys and call them men. And then they have no example in our world of established men, what we do, because they're so disconnected. They don't know what the assistant manager at McDonald's do. They don't know what the librarian in their who's a black man does, because that's not in their view. Their view is the dude who's still trying to figure out life with a pimp hat on. That's not men. Those are boys still trying to be men. To the thing with Miss Parker, what I was trying to say is, and I research a lot of things: Queen Dido, the Celts, the Franks, Vikings, all that type of stuff. So what happens is, when you have a Stephen Fetchit type, which is the character, the actor from back in the day, a person that was willing to sell out his image for the sake of getting money. And
Right.
then when he became broke, he went back to the same black community that he was messing up to try to get back on his feet. Those people will never understand power, Ms. Parker, because those people are willing to create chaos, damage the image, anything they need to do for current rent money. But then when they get older and they not doing well no more, they rely on the same black family that they tried to destroy. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, that's spot on. I'll just go ahead and say I'm honored to have you on the panel. I'm a big fan, Mr. Research. Been following you for about 4 years now.
Thank you, sir.
Through all the changes. So yeah, no, he's definitely bona fide. Not that I needed to validate him, but he definitely knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I think that's a very fair point. What are we looking at? When we look at these young girls interacting with these young boys, you're right. A lot of them aren't privy to what the assistant manager at McDonald's does. A lot of them are, again, just trying to figure it out. So you have young women putting their faith, putting their best foot forward with young men that just maybe aren't prepared to lead them. They get led astray. And then they blame the young men and boys. And that kind of paints the picture of how they articulate and look at men in general for the future. So I can definitely see it from that standpoint of view. Speak
I
on
would
it.
even, I would even bet that the young lady, maybe she can prove me wrong, but I would bet that she has not been told necessarily positive things about older males, except for watch out for them. So if she has that type of viewpoint, then of course she would always lean to them as the negative. So it would even furthermore, because most girls are told that dirty old man, but she's told that the older woman that chases boys is a sexy cougar.
Mm,
So we tell these girls all these disparaging things about the older men in our community, which is good nor bad. But the other communities never even mention a word about older guys except go get with one. The Russians encourage their girls, go get with one. The Argentinians, go get with one. It's not a bad thing. It's like I say, in Latin community, they love the word poppy, but in
right.
our community, they hate the word father. So that's why I was wondering whether the young lady had any way to articulate where she got the phrase doing what they want to do. I'm just curious.
Symone, if you want to go ahead and answer, you can. I'm curious as well. Where did you hear that phrase, doing what they want to do? And what does doing what they want to do mean to you?
When I first heard it, it was from my mother. And by what I mean by doing what they want to do is most of the time not taking care of themselves or taking care of their children or taking care of their family.
Oh, okay. So you believe that black men, when they get with white women, the white women allow them not to take care of their children.
Yes, more than black women would.
Okay.
Right. And given the situation, given the understanding, I mean, what is a 5-year-old, what is a 6-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old to do with that, right? All they can go off of is their lived experience and either confirm or deny what they've been told.
Yeah, because until a person with that viewpoint runs into a person who's living the opposite, and until that person runs into multiple guys who are living that opposite, they'll never understand, oh, what I was told was not altogether true of a lived experience. And this is why I believe like sometimes it takes our women till they're 30, 36 to unlearn a lot of stuff that they've been told. I was on a panel last night. We were talking about domestic violence, and I showed the numbers. I said, well, you do realize lesbians beat black women in relationships way more than black men.
Yeah.
Everybody was quiet because everybody had believed the narrative black men for so long, when actually the numbers for the filing, the 911 calls don't even support that. It's women against women, intimate partner attacks.
Right. And that's very true. And I think there is a, I don't want to say misunderstanding, because I don't think the facts, I don't think the numbers are misunderstood. I think there is a comprehension problem in regards to, or maybe a lack of accountability. I'm not sure which one, but I constantly see this disassociation of facts to feelings. If I present to you CDC data, Black demographics data, government data, and I make a statement that, yeah, just like what you said, that lesbian encounters in regards to Black women, there's a higher instance or a mutual, I think you said higher instance of domestic violence between Black women and their Black female lesbian counterpart versus men. Now, if I don't want to promote that narrative, I'm not going to believe it. But if I don't, as a woman, if she doesn't feel that it's true, then it's not true. And I'm not sure how to combat something like that. I'm not sure how to make headway with somebody that feels over facts. It's not. But that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Well, this is why I love our women. I really do. But
you do more so than a lot of other content creators that we've in space.
But I'm seeing our women attack other women just for loving Black men. I'm seeing our women create wars with light-skinned girls. I'm seeing our women call women names like mammy and pick me. These are not men doing this stuff. So, I just realized for me personally and the people that I give advice to, I tell them to disassociate themselves. Because in order for you not to be mad at our ladies, you can't be expecting a lot anymore. And you have to walk past it and be nice to the ones who are nice to you. But this is why so many of us established guys, we're just scared of them. And we just try not to be in the vicinity. We smile, we wave, we keep it moving. I've had women press me up on the job. I smile, I play it off, and I get on the elevator and go. Because there's no explaining. Because it's too easy to weaponize against you. And to Ms. Parker, here's what I meant. I understand you're saying that if the couple works together, and I said, yes, if the couple does work together, you are 100% right. But the only problem is when I counsel couples too. A lot of couples, you get one person who's all about the money and they're not looking at the stability. Let me give you a quick example. One guy that I mentored, he's making $16 an hour. His wife is a nurse. She's making close to 80 grand, but she's working all this OT to get it but she's making close to 80 grand. Now she took him on with 2 babies in tow. Okay, he got 2 sons by 2 different girls. Okay, and he making $16 an hour. He's focused on his current coin. He's not focused on how can I protect the team? What do I need to go do in an effort to protect the team? And when you have a person like that who's focused on their current coin, even though it's 16, that's something he loves, that's something he loves doing, but he's fell in love with it. And now he's a detriment to her. When they start having arguments, I said to him, it's because you're not advancing. If something happens to your current situation, you won't be prepared. You'll be leaning on her even more. Well, like most guys, Miss Parker, he couldn't understand that because everything's going fine in his just enough world. So then one of the baby mamas sues him for custody. Now he got to come up with 12 G's. He ain't got it. Who does he lean on? Causes more arguments, so on and so forth. So yes, Miss Parker, that all does work, as you said. But if one person does not understand that it's power before get a bag, it will always fail.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's any disagreeing there. When we look at it logically, it is understanding that the dynamic, and that's kind of what I was speaking on earlier. You know, where do you, like I said, 2 parties working together? What do Black women want, and what do Black men want? Do Black men want a partnership with their women, or do Black men want the husband and wife dynamic? Now, at one time, those 2 things were synonymous with one another in regards to the cooperation, if we're going to use that term. But a partnership, I guess, I wish we could have her on, or wish she would come up. I want to understand, what does a partnership mean to the everyday common Black woman versus what it means to a baby boomer, right? Or a 15-year-old.
Well, every time I get in conversations with ladies, I respect them, but they don't get into specifics. It's always catchphrases. So I try to push our ladies the way I did our lady Symone here, to be detailed in what she believes, because at the end of the day, she did hear this from another female adult. It was not nothing Symone experienced it on her own as of yet. She probably experienced it with boys or saw it on TV or maybe 1 or 2 people, but she hasn't really seen the adult side of stuff for herself as of yet. Possibly, maybe. But in regards to what Ms. Parker is saying, yes, we need a definition, because the sad thing is our ladies use a lot of phrases and they pontificate, but they don't come with specifics. And when they do the specifics, then we have this moment of, well, those 2 things don't add up. But again, I agree with Ms. Parker. If everybody is acting right, man and woman, it is the way it should be. She's absolutely right.
Right. And I would agree with that as well. And we have examples of both parties being in their roles as examples. A lot of us had mothers, fathers, grandfathers that maybe didn't have as much as we did, and oftentimes maybe had more than we did, in a more holistic aspect in regards to family, savings, home, equity, all these different things. So you're right. Definitions are important when 2 parties, 2 people, a man and a woman, want to be on the same wavelength and want to actually do work together. I like your example that you put in regards to the man not wanting enough, right? The man not wanting enough for the woman that was making more than him. You know, we're going to have a lot of that here in the future. And like I said, a lot of men and women are competing for the same jobs. Now, how do we remedy that? Like you said, men getting managerial positions and going to higher paid positions, increasing their human capital and doing that. That's one way to circumvent that.
And the other way is women have to realize that the womanhood aspect they've been working with is not benefiting her daughter. There are less and less black women in the office now. Now the daughters are fighting the sons for man jobs. Let me say it again. There are less and less 20-year-old, 17-year-old, 25-year-old black women getting office positions compared to the 80s and 90s. Now that those women are going off to the retirement, been moved out, many of them have been fired now that flag culture people have taken over superior spots. I know one lady, she was there for 25 years. The Filipino manager got to be in charge. He fired her, and he fired her before he even got the information off of her computer because she was the only one to know how to do that part of it. So women got to understand, and people like Miss Parker need to spread it to these other women. These other Pakistani, Latin, they aren't necessarily your friends. They're laughing with you. Y'all ordering lunch together, but they're trying to get their flag cousin in there. And they don't want your daughter working in there unless she's going to work in the warehouse.
Right. And that's very true. That's very true. I'm curious here. What was I going to ask you, Symone? Symone, I want to ask you, because Mr. Research brought up a very interesting point. And since you're 15, I'm curious, how do you feel about arranged marriage? And let me be very specific. If your mother and father, wanted to make sure you were taken care of and say, you know what, Symone, don't worry about it. Just focus on school, focus on, becoming the best woman you can be. We're going to find, a man. We're going to find somebody for you that's going to love you, take care of you, make sure you don't want for anything, all these different things. How would you feel if your mom and dad decided to arrange a marriage for you? Would you be against it? Would you be for it? What are your thoughts?
I would be against it because I think that every girl should decide who they want to be with. And even if their parents think that, no, this person isn't right, let them figure that out themselves and go through and learn through the situation so they know what man that they want for the next time.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Research.
Good answer, Symone. Let me throw a twist in it, Symone. Um, Being that you're a young lady, let me ask you a question. If for some reason there's a law that takes away uh, the whole, because in California, they've already passed the law for women who are single mothers. If you're not working or looking for work, you cannot get assistance other than prenatal. You can get prenatal, you can't get anything else. And for child support, it has to be DNA proof that it's the father. What if they strengthen those laws? Do you still feel that the arranged thing is not to go, even if you don't have any help with the wrong guy?
Can you restate the question?
So if you're 15, if by the time you're 23, there's no more welfare to help you with a child, right? Uh, and you can't rely on your parents. Let's just rule that out. Uh, would you still say that an arranged marriage is not the way to go, that you would still prefer for you in your life to just pick your own situation?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So, again, this is just one 15-year-old black woman, but we can extrapolate a lot from this, right? We can extrapolate that choice is what's really important in the black community for black women. Now, I guess maybe the bigger question is, what is the track record of decision making? And even disregarding the track record of decision making, how do we reinforce our women making sound decisions? Because, like you said, with no support from the government, that mistake finding out on your own could be a lifelong entanglement. So,
Mm.
in a situation like that, it would seem to me that a mother-father dynamic would be the best option, even though we know that sometimes falls through. But if you're in a single mother household and I don't want to say it's carte blanche or a laissez-faire attitude with choices, because I guess the understanding is if most, not mo- let me be very careful. Those that do use assistance, that sort of is let me find out, but knowing I have a safety net. Like you're poignant with your question. When the safety net's removed, are you still keen on making that decision, knowing that you have no way of going back on it?
I respect Miss Simone's answer, and I see beyond it. Within 10 years or less, immigrant law will take over the USA. we
Absolutely.
have a plethora of Pakistan and India people here. And one of the reasons for Brexit in England is because the flag culture of people, primarily Indians and Pakistan, got so huge in England that their voting situations started passing laws in regions that they dominated. And it no longer was England. Let me give an example. Slavery was still okay in certain parts of England. And here's how the Pakistanis and Indians got around it. They would call people in and chain them, literally chain them in the attic and the basement. It got so bad that England had to pass a law. Nobody is to be held. They got rid of slavery years ago. Wasn't nobody doing this. It wasn't until this other culture came over and started dominating England. They had to pass a law that says nobody is to be held captive in any house ever. Why did they have to do that? Because this other culture came over and just started doing what they wanted to do as a voting bloc. Well, the same thing is going to happen in America. And I'm telling white people this also. This anti-union mentality, this right to work state mentality, it's going to backfire on everybody. And when you get the 11 million people that Biden wants to bring in, you're going to have these voting blocks that are going to change the demographic of where you live. And now the black person or the melanated person, that I like to say, who doesn't see themselves as black or isn't about black first, they're going to get swallowed because now, just like a right to work state, you don't have the protections that other states have for doing you dirty. You're going to have to get rid of that. And I think that by the time the teenagers get to be 25, 30 years old, they're going to see a lot of immigration cultural stuff that they don't like, but they're going to be powerless to stop it because they're not a voting bloc.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And man, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Because we have a situation here that we have black women advising that, and Biden even acknowledging that black women overwhelmingly voted for him, got him into office even. So we have a situation where black men and black women, even politically, our interests aren't aligned, right? in general. Now, 85, I think it was 85 or 83% of black men voted for Biden as well. But there was even bigger divergence in the last election. So if the vote for Biden has essentially neutered the future black vote, then do we have a situation where, without the leadership of black men and black women being on the same page, that the voting, the implications of their vote have, well, it hasn't happened yet, but potentially disrupted the equilibrium of the community? Well, what's your thoughts on that, Mr. Research?
They're going to blame the guy after Biden for what Biden is doing in his 4 years, because we politically don't understand that it takes 5 to 6 years for somebody's policies to take effect. So we're going to feel it after Biden, and then we're going to try to blame the current person, but actually Biden is the one that's doing it. So I mean, I think, it's kind of like Cicely Tyson said. She said before she passed away, she told Tyler Perry, I don't think we left them enough to fight for. I think this is the area that black people, male and female, got it too easy. And, our teenagers don't have enough historical knowledge because we're not passing it out. That's why I call myself Mr. Research.
Right.
And if they're not careful, they're going to unwittingly help the anti-blacks make stuff work for them. One key thing why I mentioned women, because Miss Parker's a woman and Symone is a woman. Once the women start realizing, because they're realizing now, I've talked to a couple of women in my hospital industry. Women are starting to realize that all these other women are banding together with their men to get those black women out. But they're realizing too late. I was at Kaiser, and I'm just here for a darn appointment, and we got to talking. In fact, I'm in medical finance, and then one of the nurses started talking about this. I came on a totally another day. A white nurse started talking to me about it. That's not by happenstance. I didn't initiate these conversations. We just happened to start going down that line because I told them I work in medical finance and I've been in for 27 years. So more and more of our women, and I'm quite sure Miss Parker is seeing it, more and more of our women are going to be getting outed, unless they're in an all-black Southern area. But black women used to be all in the office. They're not anymore. They've worked to help women, all types of women, get into positions. And now their daughters have nothing. Why is a daughter working in warehouse? Why is a daughter working in construction? Because I like it. Okay, you like it now, but your body biologically can't hold up to the years of that. But okay, you like it. No problem. Do you. But then those same ones, by the time they hit 30 and 36, somebody help me. My teeth are falling out. That's because all that testosterone is in your body now. That's why that's happening. I worked with a bunch of women who were working warehouse one time. Just all type of feminine issues. And I'm not going to say nothing, but I know you guys are, it is what it is, man. So that's why I tell black men, shake the black woman's hand and just walk past it, because the black woman needs to realize it for herself. She needs to see how horrific it is. And the black boys too, the boys who are anti-black and anti-female, they need to realize it too, so that's how I see it.
No, that's real. That's real. And that's interesting, because if we look at this image that's on the screen, I kind of posted this question earlier. Is this image, even though it was up for a short amount of time, is this image enough for black women to come to grips? And I don't want to use the term come back to the table, but maybe tweak themselves.
No, not really, because look at the image. remember, the black gay man is no longer accepted in white gay circles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, now that the right to marry in certain states have existed, you had a bunch of black gay men for the first time coming back to black circles having conversations because they're not really allowed in these white circles for gayness. So people don't necessarily need to play with them sexually no more. People don't need to interact with them no more because now they're going back to being white. So so that's why you're starting to see more of that demographic reach back out to the black women. Because remember, that wasn't happening for a long period of time.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, they was doing their own thing back in the Miami days. As long as the white and the Cuban gay guys was accepting them, they really didn't need the black woman. Now that these laws have been passed for marriage, you don't even see. I can't remember. I'm here in San Francisco, and I fly out to Atlanta. I can't remember the last time I seen a white guy with a black gay guy.
I think you're right. I don't think I noticed that either. I didn't realize there was a schism. I had no idea. But I guess
They didn't realize it either until they got ostracized. And I think that the black woman may possibly go through that unless Symone's demographic changes it by unlearning some of the things that were taught to them. But it's up to them. I just tell black boys, don't fight this battle. Love our black women from a distance and just walk past it, because if we can only work with the 30% of women who want to be on the black man's team. And those black boys, they're going to be screaming in a minute too, because you see them stealing, going blazing, doing blatant stuff. But guess what they always end up doing? Hiding behind Black Lives Matter when they get caught.
right.
Hiding behind blackness. So that's going to come to an end too, because it's going to take somebody like me or somebody more popular than me. They're going to get on the microphone and say, these black parasites are not part of the black male community. Because when the black male community starts doing what the black women are doing, having black male only business events and black male see, women think it's cool to do that now, but wait till men start getting in that. No, this is for boys, black boys only. And then the women gonna be like, what is this? And we're gonna be like, oh, we just mimicking what the women have done.
Right. And it's very rare. And I think you had spoken on this a couple months back, maybe even years ago. But we always see that these black male spaces often get infiltrated, for better or for worse, by black women. And I think that's all women do that. They try to infiltrate their respective space. And then they end up changing it a bit. Now, I think new ideas are always key to any sort of growth or progress. But yeah, I do think there needs to be, us only. Let's go ahead and take care of this. I mean, would you advocate more, male only schools? Would you advocate more, if you already advocate arranged marriages, hopefully I'm not going too far in assuming that you would advocate, other preparatory schools, maybe even like a charm school.
We are getting there. We have a plethora. I won't say plethora. We have a minute number of military schools popping up in the USA that both girls and boys are attending. I live close to one. I travel in other states. I see them. So we do have that coming about.
Okay.
And one of the biggest thing, which is slightly off topic, but it does twine in, is that we're going to have a all black male owned NFL team. So that's going to happen probably 5 to 8 years. The image of that is going to be so powerful, like a Barack Obama. It's going to be encouraging other guys to come together and form things greater than a barbershop. They're going to be forming actual conglomerates, actual, I guarantee that's going to have a profound effect to see this black male business group own this NFL team and make decisions, and the image of that is going to be outstanding.
Yeah, and that's I was not even aware of that. Do we know which team is being eyed right now?
No, they're going to get they're going to start their team from scratch, and
Yeah,
right now they're going to buy the old Raiders facility. They put an offer on the table for 92 million for the land and the property, and the A's might move too, which will make it even better. But yeah, they up for grabs. So all they need to do is have a facility ready.
yeah,
And when the new expansions come up, whether it be Seattle or whether it be them, they're good for the plug-in. And the way the NFL wants to apologize for the Kaepernick situation, they can't help but give that black business group a shot when they got Jay-Z, Marshawn Lynch, they got all these people attached to it. So you can't help but give them a shot.
That's beautiful. That's excellent. I love hearing stuff like that. And I was waiting for, and again, yeah, this is off topic. I was waiting for what Jay-Z was quote unquote doing to potentially bear fruit, because a lot of us thought Jay-Z was just like, we thought that was just a money grab. But I mean, if it's going to materialize into something like this, then we can go with that, right?
Yeah. In conclusion on that, the problem with people like high up, whether it be Byron Allen or even many sisters who are high up, they forget to keep that one person connected to the streets. And when you got a person connected to the streets, then you got to have somebody putting out on your tweet all your micro victories. Jay don't put out enough micro victories, which is why you're saying what you're saying. And many of our sisters, I talked to a bunch of sisters that was talking about support black-owned businesses, and I said, "Do you hire black men? What's the name of the black man that's on your team? Just to say you have a black business, you must be able to hire women and men. You can't just have a business that just all money goes to you so you can floss.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't help the community if you don't actually hire people. And then sometimes when you go to these businesses, especially in the medical area, look at all the black college graduates from these predominantly black colleges. They mostly hire white people. Can you imagine if Morehouse alone would hire black men more than they hire everybody else? Every year they graduate, and the dudes, they historically don't hire black males.
That's crazy. That makes no sense.
None. That's why I said majority of our solution, and I'm gonna leave you and Symone, but the majority of our solution, we don't hire each other. We tell each other that we have to reach some high skill level that your counterpart in human resources is not asking of her Chinese person. So it's like we always ask our people. I never forget. I'm sorry. I was in a department created by a Filipino guy, and he had Chinese people working for him. Right. It was me, 3 other girls that were scared, one loud, boisterous girl, and the senior black lady said, "I don't even talk to them young chicks over there." Okay, she was cool with everybody, right? And my lady was a African lady who had just got the position. The young 27-year-old Chinese girl didn't want to do it no more. So here I am working the position, and the Chinese girl is training me. The African girl is not taking the African woman is not taking the accountability to train me because she's busy trying to learn herself. But she's looking down her eyeglasses at me every time she says something to me. Did so-and-so train you? Did blah, blah, blah? Or you should know how to do this and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, that isn't what she said. Well, I talked to her. It was like she was trying to have a meeting with her. I sit right next to this Chinese lady. Right. It's like she's trying to have a meeting with her without having us have a meeting.
Yeah.
And then in at the end of it, before they let me go, all the 20 websites she wanted me to use, we were only working with 3 of them. So why did you give me this 20? Because the girl trained me on 3. And when she said, "Oh, you don't need none of that right now," and I said, "Oh, okay. Why?" She said, "I don't know. I don't know why you got all that. You don't even need that right now." So by that time, I said, "Okay, I got it. Everything's cool." She had went to the Chinese lady and said, "I don't think he's going to work out."
Unreal.
Yeah,
Unreal. I'm
yeah.
not,
Based on her lack of training, it was amazing. It was just amazing.
yeah.
Now,
It's
mind you, for those people who listen, I'm 27 years in medical. I work pretty much every part of medical there is, and I have 5 certifications. So there's nothing that I can't do. But you got to know what you're explaining to me when you're explaining it, and you can't have 2 different people saying 2 different things, and that's a problem.
right.
But I thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Symone, for your answers. And thank you, Miss Parker. Much love to y'all.
I appreciate you, Mr. Researcher. Always welcome back. Appreciate the legendary intro, and stay safe out there. All right. That was Mr. Research. Mr. Research, YouTuber. I'll make sure I put his YouTube in the description. And I appreciate you, Symone. Go ahead and enjoy dinner. Appreciate you for multitasking, being on the stream, as well as making dinner. Make sure you send me pics, and appreciate you. And what we'll do here, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down. Anyone else wants to come up, please just let me know. I will drop the link, and we'll go ahead and continue the conversation. But no, I think it's always a good time when you got Mr. Research coming in, because again, one must study to show thyself approved, right? And I think coming from Miss Parker and Mr. Research, the understanding, the way that we can come together, there has to be an understanding. We got to have definitions. There's got to be roles. There's got to be a guideline, a framework, and we all have to adhere to that. There should never be a situation where, just like he experienced, taking on a new role, being advised or misadvised of what's needed to take care of that role. Like you said, the man's certified. He's been in it 27 years. There's no reason that type of interaction should have happened. Black men and Black women should be able to interact. And again, we shouldn't be in competition with one another. We were never meant to be in competition for one another in any of these jobs. Like I said, it's a video game. It's a save point. We have to always put something down, put something in there so we can leave our children to springboard off of that. And that is very important. Okay. And definitely appreciate you, Ms. Parker, for being in the chat, definitely giving us your point of view. And it's interesting, this is what I wanted out of this conversation, because there is a schism. There's a schism coming. There's already a schism here. UN, this photo, this definitely, it definitely highlighted that, right? So how do we work together? How do we not sabotage one another? This isn't a wacky race, right? You guys remember the show Wacky Races? We don't need Black women oil slicking Black men, and we don't need Black men feeling like if they interact with their women, that their women are going to put that they'll have to put a banana peel behind them to keep your own woman from what's the best way to put it? Keep their own woman from maligning you. Because we all got to work together. We all got to have strong Black families. And that's the only way we're going to survive this. We got to vote together. That doesn't mean just vote Democrat, because we know what's heading up with that. We know what's going to happen with that. Mr. Japp was talking about it a little earlier, actually, and I agree. I've been saying this to some of the people I talk to. You have a situation where historically the Democrats, and this is going a little bit off topic, the Democrats have historically counted on that black vote, that older black vote, that the elders would keep black folks in line to vote Democrat. Lyndon B. Johnson talked about it. And they've held true to form until these recent elections, till the election of Donald Trump, and even more so the Biden election. I don't think what people understand is when the immigrants get here, when they're enabled to leapfrog you, people that look like you, that's not good for black people. That's not good for the community and coming together and coalescing something to be able to weather this storm. See, what happened was they pretty much voted the replacements in. And when we're talking about politically speaking, see, by the time that the elders are gone and carrying that Democratic vote, they won't need the younger blacks, the middle-aged blacks. They won't need them anymore because we're hip to it. We're not going to fall for it. But by that time, it's not going to matter our voting block if you have that type of influx of immigrants of all different kinds coming in. They've replaced the black voter block, or they're attempting to do so with these wide sweeping immigration reforms. So something to consider, something to look out. Like I say, you have the, well, that's a whole different thing. Just this photo, this image, we see how much farther we get away from each other, but we can still move past all of this and work together. But it's going to require an attitude change. It's going to require understanding. It's very cliche, but we are all we have. You know, personally, it's an interesting thing because I do find myself when I'm in the office or out and about, I do find myself sometimes, most of the time, not having an issue with black women. You know, I mean, they may never smile. They may never greet me warmly as other women do. And, I have no ill will towards anyone. We're all strangers. But it just seems like there's that innate contempt there, and it's very interesting. So maybe it's and maybe I just need maybe I just need to be stronger. I just don't think it should be transactional between a man and his woman like that. I don't believe black people should have to be transactional like that. But maybe that's the way the world is. Maybe that's the way to be effective. Maybe you do become transactional with your woman and your man. I don't know. But something's got to give, and we will get it together, or we'll all fall. So that was Real Talk, Real People. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Again, truth or propaganda. The image says it all. Oh, yeah, and I guess I'll mention this too. Admixture, right? Admixture is important. Admixture is how you get rid of a population that you want to get rid of. I mean, you can say it's eugenics to some extent, but not really. Admixture is a foundating part of integration, or more aptly called assimilation. So something to think about. We'll be doing more panels. Let me know what you think. You know, let me know how you feel about this image. How you feel about the relationship between black men and black women. Is love love, right? How to give me some solutions in the comments. That's what we want. We want solutions. And as always, everybody, keep it real.